Preview season is over and Commander Legends is going to be coming out soon. Hopefully there's no delays as every other product has. But that means that we get a little bit of time to discuss and plan out some decks for the new legendary creatures that we're going to get to play with. What is up, Commander players? My name is Matt, and you're watching Top Commander. So, before anybody comments and tries to haze me about last week, I do apologize. Of course, last weekend being Halloween, had a couple of birthdays, so of course, did not get an opportunity to record for Monday's video, and of course, Thursday's video got delayed because a couple of people in the household were feeling a little under the weather, so took the night off to make sure that everybody was good and, you know, back in good health. But we're back at it. Commander Legends preview season is over, which means we now know every card from this set. But I'm going to do things a little bit differently this go around because there is a lot of cards in this set. But before we get too deep into it, if you wish to support this channel, be sure to like, share, and subscribe as always. And if you wish to support this channel directly, be sure to visit patreon.com/topcommander. But with that out of the way, let's discuss Commander Legends. Now, I was going to do a complete set review, but there are a lot of cards, and boy, that's a lot to do for this small of a channel. So what I'm going to do instead is just basically break them down into some maybe top 10, top 20, maybe top 15 lists, depending on the category, of course. As you can tell by the name of this episode, this is going to be the top 10 non-partner commanders that I picked out specifically for this video, with a couple of honorable mentions because there are 30 non-partner commanders in this set that are brand new. These are only the new ones, none of the reprints. And as I was getting it narrowed down, because I was just trying to do a top 10, I found myself debating around the 15 to 13 number. I almost went with the top 15, but I figured it'd be a little bit easier to go with the top 10. So I will discuss the honorable mentions towards the end of this video. Then somebody's probably going to haze me and be like, that should have been on the top 10 list, not that card. But sue me, you know. Alright, so there's a lot of really, really good new legendary cards coming out in this set. 30 that are non-partners. So when it came down to this list, I was trying to think of what seemed to be more fun / opened up new styles, or at least given some stuff certain support. Hint, hint, wink, wink, pirates. But let's go ahead and start off with the first one. So the first one I got on my list is Zara, or Zara, however you want to pronounce that. Renegade Recruiter. 3 generic, a red and a blue for a 4/3 legendary creature human pirate. She has flying, which, why not? Whenever Zara Renegade Recruiter attacks, oh, wow. Tongue twister, sorry. Whenever she attacks, look at defending player's hand. You may put a creature card from it onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. Return that creature to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So, this is very much what pirates do. They steal, or in this case, temporarily steal. Because it does have the clause that it goes back to the player's hand at the end of the turn, which is kind of neat because it's like, hey, can I borrow that and smack you with your own card for a minute? The reason I really like this is because I was already had it in the back of my mind that I was wanting to do a Grixis commander. I wasn't sure which commanders I was going to use for it, but I was already planning on a Grixis build where all it is I temporarily borrow stuff from my opponents, whether it be from their deck, their hand, their field. Not necessarily straight up steal it, but like more like active treason. The threaten effects where you just take it and then it goes back at the end of the turn. Hey, can I borrow this? Which is basically what I was planning on doing. But Zara, looking at this card, I love what it does. It does what a pirate should be doing. And it's in red and blue, so you don't have access to the black color pie of pirates. So I was kind of disappointed in that, because there's some pretty decent pirates in black as well, and multicolor. And, of course, you could always just do Admiral Beckett Brass and put this in there. But as far as just doing a red-blue pirate deck, Zara definitely fit the bill, in my opinion. Does pretty much what you want to do in a red and blue build, especially a pirate build. You just want to borrow something, smack your opponent, and give it back. So that's the first pick that I got. Next one, everybody was talking about this card, and I love this card the more I think about it. Yearlock of Scorch Thrash. One generic, a black, a red, and a green for a 4/4 legendary creature, Viashino Shaman, which it's been a while since we've seen a Viashino, has vigilance, and a player losing unspent mana causes that player to lose that much life. Mana burn. Pay 1, tap it, and each player adds black, red, green to their mana pool. So I was thinking about this, and it brings back mana burn. It gives people mana, and if they're not in the colors to be able to use it, then they take 3 points of damage. Now, the part that I was thinking about is when you see a lot of these commander decks nowadays, it seems like a lot of people use green for the land-based ramp, especially more casual tables, or black, because black has all the tutor effects. So, it just kind of depends on the meta, I guess. But something I was thinking about for this deck, being that you are in Jund, you are in black, something that you could do, it's kind of a mean situation, but you use this, you put the mana in their mana pool, and if you have something on the field like, there's a black enchantment, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but whenever an opponent casts a spell, they have to either lose 5 life or discard a card. Soon as I saw that card, I was like, that needs to go in that Yearlock deck. That just fits, because it makes them choose. You're either going to take 3 life, or use the mana to cast a spell, and then you have to pay 5 life or discard a card. So it kind of puts them in a weird situation, because of the fact that what you really want for a deck that does this is an effect that says, like, your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. But it's not really in the right colors. I don't know of a whole lot of cards in Jund in particular that does that effect. I know there's a couple in blue and a few in white. Cards like Grand Abolisher, Tidal Barracuda gives everybody flash, but they can't cast anything during your turn, which is kind of funny. And then Dragonlord Jamoka, where they can't cast stuff during your turn as well. So, being that cards like that are outside of your colors because they're in blue and white, I didn't know if there was any that I could think of off the top of my head that were in Jund that does the same effect. But if there are, by all means, please let me know down in the comments below, because I couldn't think of any off the top of my head. Alright, next one on the list we have Felice, Reverent Medium. 3, a white and a black for a 3/4 legendary creature, Human Cleric. At the beginning of each end step, create X 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of tokens you created this turn. So, I immediately was thinking, okay, this is a very aristocrats, Orzhov, token matters kind of deck, which is pretty cool. But now the interesting part that I was thinking about with this deck is who is the real commander for this deck? Because Alinda the Duskrose is another Orzhov commander that cares about creatures dying, creates tokens, and then you have Teysa Karlov, which cares about tokens because she gives tokens vigilance and lifelink. And then she also doubles up your death triggers, so she also cares about aristocrat style builds. All three of these are Orzhov commanders that care about aristocrat style token matter builds, which is really interesting to me. So it's a matter of which one is the better to have as the commander. Now, of course, you could alternate them out and play it however you wish, but I definitely want to hear from people out there what they think about this, because all three of these cards go in the same deck, but which of these three really does belong in the command zone? But it's just a really neat design. I really like the way that it is. That was just one thing that I was thinking about in particular with this card, was the fact that there were two other legendaries that go in the same deck, but which one really needs to be the commander? Alright, next up. This one I thought was just a very interesting, just off-the-wall kind of effect. Obecca, Brute Chronologist. 1, a blue, a black, and a red. So we got Grixis for a 3/4 legendary creature Ogre Wizard. I don't think we've had an Ogre Wizard before. Not that I'm aware of. I'd have to look that one up. Tap. The player whose turn it is may end the turn. Exile all spells and abilities from the stack. The player whose turn it is discards down to their maximum hand size. Damage wears off. And this turn, and until end of turn, effects end. So I was watching the Command Zones episode, and they started talking about this one, and they brought up a very interesting point. You can use this very politically. So if like your opponent is about to die, you can be like, hey, I'll tap Obecca and you can end the turn, so you just, everything's just off the stack. Everything is done. It's ended. And I like the aspect of that. So you can use this politically. There are a lot of cards that create tokens that, you know, the tokens go away at the end of turn, so you can end your turn and kind of like a Sundial of the Infinite effect, just to keep those tokens. So there's a couple of different ways that you can build it. I'm not sure what's the correct way or what a lot of people are really have in mind for this particular creature. I just really like the design space. The fact that it's an Ogre Wizard was kind of neat. And the ability on it is just odd. So I feel like it opens up for a very interesting new design space. It could also be my Grixis commander for the, hey, can I borrow that deck? And I could just end my turn and instead of giving it back to my opponents, keep them. That feels mean. Anywho, let's go on to the next one. Navini Erborg Tyrant. I think this is the first time we've seen Nev on his own card, because we've had Nev's disc and things like that, but I don't think we've actually had a Navini. 3 generic, a white, a blue, black for a 3/6 legendary creature zombie wizard. He has hexproof from artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. So you can't really do a Voltron build because, well, actually no, it's hexproof. So yeah, you can load him up with auras and things like that. That'd be neat. When Nev enters the battlefield, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie token for each creature that died this turn. Okay. When Nev dies, you may pay 1. When you do, destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. Oh, he got his disc. he gets his disc automatically. Okay, so this one was really cool because of the fact that, one, it's a board wipe in the command zone. If anybody's played against Child of Alara, you know how powerful that can be. And it's a Esper, he's a zombie, so a create zombie token, so it's another, I like the fact that it's a new option for Esper zombie decks, because for a while we only had the one from the pre-con that I can't think of, back when, in 2018 Commander Precons and the Amanatu deck. That was the only real Esper zombie commander that we really had for the longest time. So the fact that he comes in, he's very aristocracy, creates zombie tokens, cares about them dying, and he's a board wipe. I'm liking this. The fact that it cares so much about what it wants to do, and especially if you blow him up and then recast him after everything's been wiped, then he'll come in with a whole army of zombie tokens. So I really like Nev. Nev is very unique in the way that they went about doing this. And hey, Esper Zombies, we got a new commander for him. Why not? Alright, next one. I had to put this on my list. Quain. I guess it's Quain. Itinerant Meddler. A white and a blue for a 1/3 legendary creature, Rabbit Wizard. Yes, I put it on the list because it's a rabbit. It was awesome. A legendary rabbit. Come on. Who wouldn't? Tap. Each player may draw a card, then each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life. So, obviously, everybody was just assuming that this is just going to be a group hug style build. You can do it all sorts of ways. The fact that you're in blue-white, there's not a whole lot of options for what blue-white does, in all honesty. But, I mean, build it how you want. That's half the fun of Commander. You pick a card and then you figure out a way of how you want to build it. I mean, when you start doing stuff like Psychosis Crawler, Smothering Tithe, come on. This is just a really good card. The fact that you're giving your opponent's card draw, I feel like a lot of people are deterred from that, but in more casual tables, or if you just enjoy playing group hug style decks, this is really a good card for that style. But I also just like the fact that it's not super powerful, right? A lot of these commanders in this set don't seem too far off the wall. There's not really a lot of options as far as like a Urza or Golos or Yarick, or, you know, there's no Godo Bandit Warlord. There's not really a lot of super high powered, you know, commanders in this set, which is kind of nice that the newer ones that they came out with in this set are much more relaxed, very, very casual, very more fun, really, in my opinion. So, next one we got on the list, we have Kanji or Kanji. Not sure how to pronounce that one. Skye Warden. 3 generic, a white and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature, Bird Wizard. He has flying and vigilance, of course. Whenever Kanji attacks, attacking creatures with flying get +2/+0 until end of turn. Whenever Kanji blocks, blocking creatures with flying get +0/+2. So if he blocks, he gets toughness. Well, all of your creatures get toughness that are blocking, and then anything that's attacking gets +2 power. So flying tribal, just flying creatures matter. I like the design space, especially when this is a set that, with Commander being a growing format and there's a lot of new players coming into the format, giving them something simple to kind of understand the basics this is a very straightforward build. You want to play flyers, get your commander out, swing with a bunch of flyers, and they get buffs. And if you're blocking, they get buffs. So they hit hard and they can do pretty good defending you. So this is a very straightforward build. I like the simplicity of this. We have seen Flying Tribal Matters before. It seems like they've been doing that a lot more lately. But the fact that this is very new player friendly, this is definitely a commander deck that I would have on hand for when somebody new comes up and is like, hey, can I play? Sure, here, use this. This is a good deck to start learning the basics at least. You don't want to give them a really complicated combo build because they can play it wrong completely. You don't want to give them something that's super complex. You just want to give them something straightforward. Here, play this, play creatures, attack, smash face, give them mono green, just big, dumb creatures, just smash face, because that's what a lot of new players are going to want to do, starting out at least. They'll get into the combos later when they learn the more advanced part of Magic. But next up, speaking of combo and more advanced Magic, we have Jury, Master of the Review? Yeah, Master of the Review. A red and a black for a 1/1 legendary creature, human shaman. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Jury, Master of the Review. When Jury dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So, very much Aristocrats. Cares about permanents being sacrificed. So you're running all the typical culprits in red and black Aristocrats. Any creatures that can recur themselves, any creatures that have death triggers, giving you tokens, draining life. You're going to be using all of the typical sack outlets, Ashnod's Phyrexian Altar, Viscera Seer, Yahenni, things like that. But now, the cool thing is, also with it being in red and black, you're going to run Mayhem Devil, because whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, you can deal 1 damage to any target. So, there's definitely a route to build this deck. But the fact that this card cares about whenever you sacrifice a permanent, I feel like your mana base, now, you don't have to go too wild with the mana base on this one, but running the fetch lands, Warped Landscape, Myriad Landscape, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, Prismatic Vista, Fabled Passage, with Crucible Worlds, and that's an extra sacrifice trigger to buff Jury quick, because Jury is a 2-drop. So you play this on turn 2, and then if you're playing enough fetch lands, you can play the fetch land, crack it, sack it, buff up Jury. And the fact that Jury is gaining power, so you have a couple of routes with this, right? So you can buff Jury and kill somebody with commander damage, but then you can sack Jury and deal damage to somebody else. But now, remember, at 21, if you get Jury to 21/21 and sacrifice it and deal that much to somebody with this death trigger on Jury, it does not count as commander damage. Commander damage is only through combat. But with that being said, by the time you sacrifice enough permanents to smack somebody in combat with Jury for commander damage, and then sack Jury at the same time to deal 21 points of damage to somebody else, it's probably later enough in the game that they've already taken enough damage that will either kill them or put them to single digits, realistically speaking. And then you can always bring it back. There's just a really cool build, a really cool way that I can see this deck being built, and the fact that it's one of the uncommon legendaries. That's right, we have uncommon legendaries in this. Welcome back to Dominaria. I really do like this one. I feel like it's only uncommon because they didn't feel like it was super powerful, but I feel like there is a way to build this where it is really powerful. You're also in red and black, so you can't. There are combos where you can get into loops of sacking something, bringing it back, sacking something, bringing it back, and recurring stuff infinitely. There are those combos, unfortunately. If you're more of a casual player or play in more of a casual play group, of course, talk with your play group to find out, see what y'all are okay with at the table. But it is an option. Alright, next up, we have Gin, Arcanum Weaver. Red, a white, and a black for a 2/3 legendary creature human wizard. The art on this is really amazing. I love all the colors. This is great. Red, white, and a black. Tap, sacrifice an enchantment. Return target enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield. Mardu Enchantments. I really like this one because what has always been the typical Mardu decks? You have Edgar Markov. You have all the aristocrat style builds. I think Zurgo Helm Smasher was more of a Voltron build, but we've never really seen a lot of Mardu Enchantments Matter builds, which is why I put it on the list, because it opens up something new to the format. He's really cool. You're in red, white, and black, so with between red and black, you should be able to get cards discarded into the graveyard pretty easily, so you can discard some enchantments. You have cheaper enchantments available in your arsenal, hopefully, that you can play out and then use again to sacrifice the enchantment and bring back one of your big ones, like Eldrazi Conscription. There's no telling what all you're going to put in this deck. There's Painful Quandary. There's you can run land tax, of course. Like you're running probably a very fine line. You want to have a certain number of enchantments that are cheap and a certain number that are expensive. Now you're in Mardu. Mardu does have some trouble ramping, but you're running all the wheels that you can, all the discard effects, any kind of a discard outlet that you can start pitching cards to the graveyard, get the expensive stuff in there, use Gin to bring them back out. You're basically going to be cheating mana cost, because, let's face it, who wants to pay 8 mana for Eldrazi Conscription when you can just pitch it to the grave, 3 mana, sacrifice a land tax after turn 4, and you have something with an Eldrazi Conscription on it all of a sudden. Why not? Of course, that's probably one of the meaner ways of doing it. There are other ways. Even you can cheat in Grave Betrayal, which is a 7 mana enchantment. Whenever an opponent's creature dies, you bring it to your side of the field out of their graveyard at the end of the turn with a +1/+1 counter. Just things like that. I mean, you can do all kind of stuff in this deck, which is kind of neat. The fact that you have a door, just this open doorway to do whatever you want with this Mardu Enchantment Matters commander. Alright, next up. Actually, the last one on the top 10 list. Arami of the Dead Tide. 1 generic, a blue and a black for a 1/4 legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. Tap, exile cards from your graveyard equal to the number of opponents you have. So in a 4-player pod, when you activate this, you have to exile 3 cards out of your graveyard to activate this. Target creature card in your graveyard gains Encore until end of turn. The Encore cost is equal to its mana cost. Now, the way Encore works is exile the creature card and pay its mana cost. For each opponent, create a token copy that attacks that opponent this turn if able. They gain haste, and then sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step, activate only as a sorcery. So, how does this deck look? This one, honestly, I was thinking about because there's been a lot of self-mill lately. Some black-blue decks that have been doing mill strategies. Of course, the mill is now a keyword. So doing a self-mill and then using the Encore ability from this to bring out a creature that maybe it has an ETB trigger. So you can get the ETB triggers off of it. If you pay the give Mold Drifter an Encore, you pay 5 mana, bring him back out. You get 3 copies. You're drawing 6 cards, and then you have 3 copies of Mold Drifter attacking each opponent. Well, 1 per opponent. So that's just baseline what you can do with that. You're in blue-black, so you can play a Noxious Gearhulk, bring him out. You get 3 Noxious Gearhulk triggers, so you destroy 3 creatures, and then you gain the toughness of each of those creatures in life. You can bring out Solemn Simulacrum, Sad Robot, which is pretty neat because now you got the ETB for getting 3 basics into play, tapped, and then swing at your opponents. Then if they don't block and kill it or whatever, or at the end of the turn when it has to sacrifice itself, you're drawing 3 cards. There's a lot of value that can be had in this. Or I think Vindictive Lich. Bring him out, swing, and then whenever he dies, each one triggers. So the way that Vindictive Lich works is that whenever it dies, you have to choose one for each opponent. But they can't be the same one for each opponent. They each have to have a different one. The options are discard 2 cards, sacrifice a creature, or lose 5 life. So if you Encore Vindictive Lich, you now have 3 copies of him that at the end of the turn they're going to sacrifice. So then you got those 3 triggers, so you I believe that you can do it this way because it's per card, so each copy of itself I don't think would counteract each other. So you could have each opponent lose 5 life, sack a creature, and discard 2 cards. Or is it discard 1 card? It's one of the 2. But, yeah, it's just, I feel like Arami was definitely a really neat one. The fact that Encore is a new mechanic, I believe it's a new mechanic. I haven't seen it before, so I'm assuming that this is an extremely new mechanic. It definitely looks pretty neat. Some of the Encore cards are a little bit more expensive, but the fact that Arami gives any creature Encore in your deck, well, in your graveyard, and the Encore cost is their mana cost, it makes it a lot more easy to take advantage of Encore. I'm not sure if this is going to be... I'm not sure if any of these cards are really going to be CEDH worthy. I'm sure that they're going to try and do some builds out of some of these at least, but we'll have to see what happens with that format. But that's the top 10 list. Now, the honorable mentions that I mentioned before about the fact that I was trying to figure out what to slim down off this list. Belby, Corrupted Observer, is a black and a green for a 2/2 at the beginning of each player's post-combat main phase. That player adds 2 diamond for each of your opponents who lost life this turn. So, of course, you're going to be doing a black-green drain life effect kind of thing because damage causes loss of life. But, yeah, so the fact that you use this to your advantage, if you can, like, Zulport Cutthroat, drain everybody for 1 right quick, and then post-combat main phase you have 6 free diamond mana, I kind of see this leaning more towards a artifact build because it only produces diamond mana, but you're also in red, or you're in green, I mean. So the fact that you're in green, you do have a lot of ramp options. So you could just be using the diamond to cover generic costs and just cast some like huge bombs. I wouldn't be surprised. But I thought that one was pretty close to making it on the list. It was really close for me. The other one was Captain Vargas Wrath. Red and a blue for a 1/1 legendary creature, a orc pirate. Whenever he attacks, pirates you control get +1/+1 until end turn for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone of this game. I almost put this on the list because I wanted to mention at least one of the pirates. But at the end of the day, I felt like Zara just felt more like a pirate than Vargas did. So I just kind of left it as an honorable mention. He's still a cool design, though. I still really like him. And I believe, and the last one that I wanted to mention was Hamza, Guardian of Arashan. 4 generic, a green and a white for a 5/5. He costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter. And then creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter. So he kind of has this Animar Soul of Elements kind of effect where he makes your creatures cost a little bit less as far as generic costs. Cares about +1/+1 counters, so it's kind of, I feel like it would be like he almost feels like a Hydra commander because he's green, white, he cares about +1/+1 counters, which a lot of the Hydras come in with, and then he makes your creatures cost less based on the number of creatures with +1/+1 counters. So I just felt like that was kind of another option, I guess, we would get for a Hydra build, or just go nuts with +1/+1 counters and little creatures and tokens and start casting big old Hail Marys. I mean, when Emrakul the Promised End costs 0 because you have enough card types in your graveyard for the reduction on that and enough tokens with +1/+1 counters on them, I feel like that was just going to be a little busted. But yeah, I can see a Eldrazi build out of this one. Don't tell Ashlyn Rose. But yeah, so those are my top picks for the non-partner commanders. I will be coming out with another episode here soon where I'm talking about the top picks that I chose for the partner commanders. Then I'll be doing another video later that's going to be talking about cards for the 99. I might cover another top video based on the reprints from Commander Legends, but just keep an eye out and you'll find out. But that's all I have for today. Let me know down in the comments below, or what do you guys think? What's y'all's top picks? Which commander are y'all most excited about as far as the new ones are concerned? Not necessarily the reprints, but are there any that I didn't mention? Maybe the turtle. I know a lot of people probably wanted the turtle to be on this list. I was thinking about it. I felt like he was just too mean. I was thinking about more casual, fun games, but of course I went with the one that, steals things and takes advantage of threat and effects. But, yeah. Sorry about that. But let me know down in the comments below what you guys think, and I will see you guys next video.